Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Hall of Fame Show. And I'm Kirk Buchner along with Evan Nolan. And we represent NotInHallOfFame.com and, of course, the United States Athletics Hall of Fame. Now, I know there was as we're recording this, apparently there was an election yesterday. Now, you might be happy. You might not be happy. You might be like me and not be allowed to vote. You can vote. There's no suppression here. There's no gerrymandering here. You will be going right after this to www.theusahof.com, and you can vote on the 2024 classes of athletes, coaches, and contributors. Top 25 of athletes get in, top 5 in the other 2 categories get in, and it is all purely democratic. We will tell you what the order is. Look at that.
That's the best we can do.
That is absolutely the best we can do. We're certainly not the most polished at this, but God damn it, we are the most transparent by
That
far.
is true. That is true. I do have to say, having watched some of my videos last year to this year, I've improved significantly. So next year will be even better. So there we go.
Well, you were fine last year, but yes,
These years are significantly better. So
yes.
Anyway. Also,
yes.
I don't have the weird beard that kept changing every single video. So
Well,
anyway,
I have a hair color that sometimes changes.
I'm wearing the hat. I also want to make sure you see someone's actually finally respecting the quality of this thing here. You got a t-shirt. I'm going tie, my friend.
I don't want to wear a shirt and tie anymore. And I kind of like
It's only because I'm going to be recording Wilma Rudolph in this outfit a little bit later. So
okay. Well, again, this time of year is great for us. I mean, like over the spring and summer, sometimes like, do we have anything to say? No? All right. Hang out with your family. This is not that case. In the last week, since we've recorded, we've had 3 different distinct Hall of Fame news cut downs. And I think we're going to open up with baseball.
Yep.
Baseball. Sorry, did I?
No, you're good.
Okay. Baseball is has announced in their Veterans Committee. This is the Classic Era Committee. I believe it's the first time where this is a very wide open area. From
basically pre-1980.
Yeah, pre-1980. So like covering like over 100 years and also the Negro Leagues. So we have 8 people who made it through. It's actually interesting some of the people who didn't. And I guess if you didn't make this list, people like Bill Dolan, for example, Kurt Flood, Ali Reynolds, who is not someone who I'm necessarily big on, but he's been a veterans candidate before, but Jim McCormick, who was a very interesting candidate, somebody who I had the chance to interview. Check this out on the site a couple of years ago. He put out this amazing site, Jim McCormick, for the Baseball Hall of Fame. It's astounding, well thought out, well done, and it sets everything up perfectly. Why he might be one of the best or biggest omissions from the Hall, but. That's neither here nor there. We have to only focus on who is here. And we have 8 names. Some we've seen. Well, we've seen almost, I think, all of them before. We've seen all of these names before.
I'm pretty sure. I'm not 100% sure on the Negro League names.
Yeah, actually, I did write it down. But yes, actually, he was once.
Well, there are 2 of them, right? So
right, both of them once in 2020.
Okay, because I was familiar with the second one alphabetically, but not if the first one had been there. So
okay,
anyway,
yeah, I kind of did.
Let's go alphabetically, starting with the guy who should have been in but died a few years ago.
Well, we're going to see a pattern in that, aren't we? Dick Allen. He's been here. Well, like everyone here who was a previous modern candidate. So that's the 6 players who were not in the Negro Leagues. All of them made their 15 years when it was 15 years. None of them really came all that close. Dick Allen peaked at 18.9%. Former MVP. His power numbers may not look that good, but he also played in an era in the late 60s, early 70s, where the ball wasn't flying out of the park nearly as much. So Allen has been a 6-time veteran nominee.
And he was 1 vote short last year.
Yes.
No, last time they did this back in 2021.
22.
Yeah, it was class 22. They made the vote in December 21.
So. Oh, actually, no, he was 1 vote shy in both times, 2015 and in 2022.
Okay.
So he's got everything there. It's just now a matter of can he be one of the people? Because there's no guarantee. For those who are sort of new to this, you have to get 75% of the vote. If you don't get 75%, you're not advancing. And we've seen before in veterans ballots up to
Nobody
three
get in.
and up to zero and down to zero.
Yeah.
So
I mean, last ballot we had four. We had Gil Hodges, who was always the line, "Were you better than Gil Hodges to get in the Hall of Fame?"
yeah.
So Gil Hodges, Jim Catt, Minnie Minoso, and Tony Oliva got in last year,
Mhm.
all getting at least 12 votes out of the 16 needed. Dick Allen got 11 of the 16.
So theoretically, with them out of the way,
You would think his chances would be better.
especially considering they're when I'm looking at some of the rest of the people here.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've said this before, and I'm hesitant. Well, I'll say it again. It's got to be Alan Zier, right?
I mean, looking at who's here, there's one other person I think is very, very deserving. Well, two other people I think are very deserving. But Allen is probably has to be alphabetically first on everybody's list and first overall would be my guess. So
I would think so. So I think he's got an excellent chance. Someone who doesn't, in my opinion, Ken Boyer.
mm-hmm.
Again, 15 years on the ballot, never got high. Oh no, he did. He got 25.5% in his peak. Six veterans ballots, but he never came. Unlike Allen, he's never come close
Mm-hmm.
to getting 75%. I don't have a lot of reason to think anything's changed.
I don't either. It's interesting because Allen was the 64 NL Rookie of the Year and Boyer was the 64 NL MVP or NL MVP, which is interesting.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, 11-time All Star, 15 seasons, won World Series in that 64 season with the Cardinals.
Mhm.
Uh, he's a solid candidate. I just don't think his path is going to be more difficult than some here.
Right. It'll be interesting to see if he sort of like does place better. The first of our Negro League candidates is John Donaldson. He
Mm-hmm.
he had 50% of the vote in 2022. So I think that bodes well. Most of his play, though, was actually really before the Negro Leagues really formed.
Yeah.
So I have to say allegedly, because through the best that they could come up with, he's got a pitching record of 424 and 169 and over 5,000 strikeouts.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, those are incredible numbers. It is sort of marred, not because he played in the Negro Leagues, but because most of those were in barnstorming leagues
Mm-hmm.
against bluntly weaker competition.
True. But it was the barnstorming model that was set up for a lot of people. When I wrote Satchel Paige's thing,
Right.
Satchel made a ton of his money barnstorming in the off season.
Hmm.
Actually, one of the most famous barnstorming situations. He and Stan Musial. Page had the team of Negro League All Stars. Musial had the team of American League or MLB All Stars. They did like 67 games in 45 cities over 31 days or something insane during the offseason. And that really got Page in the league. So it's something that happened quite a bit. But again, you're right. It's not the top competition, which isn't his fault. It's
Mhm.
just he needed to make money doing it. And again, these records are the record keeping was spotty at best. Like there's one season for Page. They think he went 30-1, but he could have gone 15-3. That was one of the things I read.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
like, those are two very different
Yep.
numbers. So yeah. So we'll see. But yeah, I mean, if there is both the two Negro Leaguers we have here are both very solid candidates. It's a question of whether they're going to put either of them up or over. I mean, Donaldson pitched for 30 years. 30 years of
Yeah.
pitching.
No, absolutely. I've got him slightly higher than the other one that we'll get to,
Mm-hmm.
but I can be persuaded either way if I had to sort of like only vote for one. Bluntly,
Mm-hmm.
I would vote for these two and Alan and another person that we're coming up with
Yeah,
later.
probably.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead. Who else we got?
We got Steve Garvey, who might go 0 for 2 because
Yeah,
he did not advance as what was he running for? Who cares?
I said it.
Senate, well, and a Republican in California. I can't imagine why he lost. Uh,
I mean, Reagan was Republican California, so 10.
different time.
Yeah.
different time. But Garvey has. I'm actually going to throw something out yet. Here we have another MVP. This one in '74, 10-time All-Star, multiple-time Gold Glove winner, did win a World Series. So we're seeing a pattern here with a lot of these people. What hurts Garvey? Oh, or I'll also mention Garvey peaked much higher than the other two that we've mentioned.
Agree.
37.5 was his peak. But
Mm-hmm.
Garvey is not boding well when you look at sabermetrics. He didn't walk a whole lot. So he had 2,599 hits, 272 home runs, 1308 RBIs. Excellent numbers. But when you look at his overall B WAR, I believe he's around 40. For a
Mm.
first baseman, that's not cutting it. Saying that, I'm reminded of something that I want to give the right credit to the right person. Uh, I'm blanking on his name. I apologize if you're watching, but his Twitter handle, I believe, is Birds on the Bat.
Okay.
And he said, I wonder, I'm paraphrasing, but I wonder if Al Oliver knew that if he would have drawn more walks, that would help him get to the Hall of Fame. Would he?
Mm-hmm.
Garvey's an interesting case in that sort of thing. I don't know. Garvey's the type of guy who I think he always wanted to hit. I don't think that would have changed so much how he played. But
Mm-hmm.
Garvey, again, another guy who's been a veteran before, but has never done anything on a ballot. Four veterans ballots. Although, no, sorry, he did 37. I got something wrong. It was 37.5 on the 2020 version of the veteran ballot. On the regular ballot, his peak was 42.6. So
Okay.
Garvey is obviously a very strong candidate. Uh, I I wonder though how many of his peers, because I don't think a lot of his teammates necessarily like the guy.
Yeah, I don't know. I actually have him seventh on this ballot for me.
Yeah, and that's fair. That's fair. And again, a lot of the likability though is these are a lot of his peers now voting for him. I think wasn't Reggie Smith going to knock him out one day or something?
I don't remember that.
Yeah, and him and his wife, they were sort of like trying to always play off the perfect couple, and of course, he got into cheating scandal, which
Hmm.
I really don't care. The player is going to cheat on his wife. I just don't be holier than thou
I
beforehand.
mean, I mean, this was the '70s. Two players on the Yankees switched wives and families at this point. So,
Oh God, someone bought the rights to the movie, and apparently they were looking at. And I guess it won't be them anymore, but it was going to be Damon and Affleck,
oh jeez.
which would have been epic 10 years ago. Now, not so much due to their age at this point. But
Right.
I don't know how that's not been a movie yet, right?
That is yeah, it is crazy. It has been a movie,
Yeah,
or at least like a docu series, like we just had with Aaron Hernandez, something like that.
yeah. Again, I didn't know that Aaron Hernandez was that good looking.
I didn't know that you could score a touchdown while being 5 yards out the back of the end zone, but hey,
Who
what do you know?
knew? Who
Yeah.
knew? But yeah, Garvey's an interesting case for me. I flip back and forth on him, but not on this ballot. If that makes
Mhm.
sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so the other person we have from the Negro Leagues was an excellent chance because he was on the 2020 ballot with 62.5% of the vote, so two
Yeah.
votes shy. That's Vic Harris, and he's the whole package. Uh,
Yeah.
One hell of a player on his own right, but a managing record of 547, 278, seven-time All-Star in the Negro Leagues, won nine pennants. I wrote down none pennants. I got to fix that in my article. But not obviously, but I mean, they seem to have him, I guess, in the pecking order. I don't know how many of the returning voters are here, but Harris, I would think, Harris and Allen would be 1A, 1B to me in terms
Mhm.
of their chances. What do you think?
I'd say that's probably true. I mean, Harris also hit 303, which
Hmm.
with change this year is an official one for baseball, right?
Hmm.
So he's a career 300 hitter. There are not that many of those who are outside Baseball Hall of Fame after playing 18 seasons. You hit over 300 for 18 years. It's a pretty good chance you're going to get in the Hall of Fame. So I think that helps Harris more than anything, which is why I have him over Donaldson in terms of chance
Hmm.
getting in this time. I think I'd probably vote for Donaldson over Harris, but
Same.
Harris isn't like my bottom person either.
No,
He's
no, fair.
he's probably 4-5 on my list. So I think he's got a very good chance getting in. I'd say there are four people who have a shot of getting in, and Harris is one of the four.
So this one's interesting to me. Tommy John, and he's sort of the Burt Blyleven of this group.
Mm-hmm.
Compiled a hell of a lot of wins. 288, 15 years on the ballot, 31.7 peak. He's been on the ballot 4 times, but he never received enough votes to register. And for those wondering what that means, if you finish with 3 or under, they don't tell you how many votes he got.
Yeah, they don't want to embarrass someone by saying they got 0. Just 3 or under seems fair.
Yeah, but although they don't have any problem with that on the modern candidate.
No.
On the writer's ballot, but make that one make sense. But okay. Tony,
old people are more likely to complain.
Look, John's an interesting, like for a 3-year period, he was a Cy Young contender. For the rest of his career, he was
a pitcher.
Very good pitch. Well, he was a good pitcher. I mean, I look at it. Was he that much worse than Burt Blyleven, honestly?
No. But I mean, I think Bobby Witt was a better pitcher than Burt Blyleven. So yeah. Tommy John is best known for the surgery at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly. 288 and 231 and 334 ERA are still pretty good. 700 career starts, 4,710 innings. But he pitched 26 seasons and is a 4-time All-Star.
Yeah, I mean, like he was in that when I first started doing that, he was in that triumvirate for me, Blyleven, Cott, and Tommy John. Now 2 of those 3 are in.
Now 2 of those 3 are in.
Yeah, I wouldn't have a problem with it. He is still alive.
He is still alive, although apparently he can't get in. He was never voted in because he voted for Trump. That's why they didn't vote him into the ballot, well before Trump was running for anything.
Yeah, for those wondering, that is something he said. This is before the election, and I don't know. I didn't hear him say it. I just saw it written, so I don't know if he was being facetious.
I don't know. The way it was written, it didn't seem like he was being facetious.
So. We don't know. I want to throw that blanket out there that's possible that he's just making a joke.
Yeah.
Which I don't know Tommy John's sense of humor.
Yeah.
I just know that there's thousands of people under the age of 40 who think that Tommy John is the name of the surgeon who came up with it.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I don't know. John is literally last on this ballot for me.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, he's.
I don't feel Tommy John as a Hall of Famer at all in any way, shape, or form. He's there's the fame missing from the Hall of Fame to me for him.
Fair. So here's another interesting one. Somebody who will be blunt. He snorted his way out.
100%.
Dave Parker, another former MVP, another World Series champion.
Yep.
The Cobra was. I don't know who Willie. Someone's got to do a 30 for 30 on how Willie Stargell won the '79 MVP, or co-won it with Hernandez. That makes no sense at all, but he did. Parker was the Pirates' best player in the late '70s, early '80s. Unfortunately, he was many who the white powder got to him. Luckily, he was able to still carve out a decent career, but he's in that Darryl Strawberry field. Did I see what I did there?
Yes, I like it forever. I'll like it forever.
Thank you. Where there's always going to be that asterisk of what if he did, what if he was more focused? What if he was playing at his best all the time? And the fact that after all of that, he was still able to resurrect himself to another All-Star, a good season with Cincinnati, won another World Series with Oakland. But this is one of those things too. I mean, Parker was one of those other people on when I was a little kid. Like I was Pete Rose and Tony Gwynn, but in between was Dave Parker. That was a slugger I just sort of liked. He just looked like a badass uncle.
He did.
Before I knew what badass was. There's just something about him that is so likable. But as a lot of people will say when they're discussing the Halls of Fame, we're not talking about what if, we're talking about what did.
Yeah, I mean, he was a 7-time All-Star, the AL MVP, 3-time Gold Glove winner, 3-time Silver Slugger winner, including in 1990 when he was, 39?
it would have to be in his like in
Yeah,
his late 30s for sure.
two-time batting champion, RBI leader,
Mm-hmm.
two Halls of Fame, won a World Series with the We Are Family Pirates and that Oakland A's team that won the Earthquake series.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so I mean, he had a heck of a career. Uh, Again, you're right. Could he have been better? Absolutely, but he makes a pretty strong argument. I mean, if he doesn't have the problem, he's like what 200 and just under 300 hits away from 3,000. He gets like another 100 hits in his career. I think he may have already been in. We've been like, oh well, he was a couple hundred short of 3,000, but whatever. But because it's 2,700 instead of 2,800,
Well,
yeah, I think that I have no problem with Parker getting. I don't think he will, but I have no problem with Parker getting in.
he's also sort of higher on the pecking order, 43.8% on the 2020 ballot, peaking in the writers' ballot at 24.5. I gotta figure he's well. You have him. I know you have him over Garvey. I think so do I.
Mm-hmm. I have him over Boyer too.
Same. Do the writers
I mean,
or not
apparently
the
they have
writers? Sorry. This group.
maybe. I mean, apparently they have him over John at least.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But yeah, I Parker's a good candidate. I have no problem with him getting in. So
Well, we have some person who we recently lost. We talked about him just a couple
El,
months ago.
El Tiante, not even a couple months ago, like 2 weeks ago.
Was it 2 weeks ago? Okay. Louis
Yep.
Tiant, 15 ballots, peaking at 17.2, six veteran ballots, but he only received 25% of it once. And then the last three tries didn't register.
Mm.
Unlike some of the others we've talked about, this Tiant never won a Cy Young. But if you want to go by fame, that man was super popular,
Mm-hmm.
was got a little bit overshadowed by Yastrzemski and Fred Lynn on that 75 American League pennant team.
Mm-hmm.
Carlton Fisk too. When you think of the 75 Red Sox, you're not thinking about their pitchers. But Tiant was their best pitcher. He had a good run in Cleveland. One of those interesting guys. I don't know if he's the only person to do this, but he won 21 games in 68, and then the next year after, he lost 20.
That I did not know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as a lot of people say, you got to be pretty good to lose 20 because that means they keep thinking you're good enough. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why that one loss record has always been deceiving. But 229 wins, nevertheless, 2,416 strikeouts. I could see him doing much better than John, whether people agree with that or not. Uh, Tiant's career over John's career. I mean, John was never going to stay there. Well, I think Tiant had a better run as an ace than John did.
Agreed. Absolutely agreed on that. Tiant also came up in my videos. He gave up the longest home run ever hit at Baltimore to Frank Robinson, 568 feet, I believe, which is a long way. But yeah, Tiant was definitely the best player on that team on the pitching staff. I'm looking now. The other people I could think of I see here are Dick Drago, who of course gave up the homer and in seven, Spaceman Billy, former pitching coach and incredible all name team in baseball history, Dick Pole, and and the founding member of the Reggie Cleveland group, which is for white guys who have names that you don't expect them to be white, Reggie Cleveland. So yeah, so I mean, Tiant was definitely the best of those pitchers on that team. That was a incredible team that lost to the Big Red Machine in '75 in what may be the greatest World Series ever played. So I'm much higher in Tiant. I'm not going to pretend I don't have bias for the Red Sox over the Yankee. But Tiant had actually fewer. He only had 3 All-Star appearances, but to me has a much higher fame threshold than John. Ultimately, I don't think either of them are particularly
Mm-hmm.
going in. And when I did the first thought of it, I actually put Tiant would be my pick, but haven't gone through this again. I don't think that Tiant, if I'm going with 3, is one of my 3. I think he's probably 4 or 5 again like I
Yeah.
said, with Harris. So
Well, all we can hope for is that they're not shut out. That's something we don't want to see.
yeah.
Uh,
So if you could vote for three, who are they going to be?
it's going to be Donaldson, uh, Donaldson, Allen are my two for sure. And then it's a fight for number three. I
Yeah,
can waver on Tiant. I can waver on Parker. I can waver on Harris. As much as I sort of like made a very compelling case for Garvey, he's not there. And same with Boyer. I think in
yeah,
terms of maybe because he's alive, Parker, and so we can enjoy it.
yeah. That'd be nice to have one. So I'm making my flip right now between Vic Harris and Parker. It's Parker. So there we go. So
Great.
it's so Donaldson, Allen, and Parker with Vic Harris. If I get a fourth vote for me, and then Tiant would be fifth. Um, Gar Boyer sixth, Garvey seventh, John eighth for me. So
I got Boyer last, but
fair.
I mean at the same time, again, if I have a ballot that neither are getting on.
None of
And
them get to the vote anyway. So.
yeah, we will know on December 8th at 7 p.m. I believe Eastern
My
time.
wife's birthday, so I won't be paying that much attention. So
Okay, well, nor should you. You should be a good husband that day.
just one day a year. That's all I got.
That's all I've been able to do.
All right, so should we go through the football stuff?
Yeah, yeah. So the Football Hall of Fame did their cut downs, and again, like them, love them, hate them, whatever it is. Thank you, Pro Football Hall of Fame, for being a lot more transparent and walking us through this process. Whether we agree with what you're doing or not, it takes a set of cojones to do this, and we like that. So thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, I have the contributors up. So do you mind if we start with them?
I don't mind at all. Go ahead.
All right. So we had 25 contributors originally. We got cut down to 9, which are not the semifinalists. I guess they're technically the quarter. Well, they are the semifinalists.
Well, they are. They are. They're the semis.
And then only one of these folks will be voted on to be a finalist, and that person is not guaranteed to get in the Hall of Fame. They'll go with the coach, and then 2 seniors, and the maximum of 3 of those 4 people will get in under their current system. So the people who got cut, Rune Arledge, Chris Berman, Howard Cosell, Otho Davis, John Facenda, Mike Giddings, Don Klosterman, Eddie Kodal, Virginia McCaskey, Rich McKay, John McVeigh, Leo Remmel, Eddie Robinson, Jerry Seaman, Amy Trask, and Jim Tunney. So there will be no referees going in with this group.
No, none of them are really surprises.
No, I mean, the biggest, well, one's a surprise only because of another one who remains on here. And it wouldn't shock. Rune Arledge is the one I'm the most upset to see go. Because I think his impact on football needs to be measured. And I'm a little surprised Coach Sell is here, but I'm not that upset about Coach Sell being here.
I would agree with you, but I'm not surprised that it happened. I think Rune does not get the respect he deserves. Saying that, I don't see him on their radar overall, especially considering some of the names who are still here.
Yeah, well, one of them in particular. So the name I'm going to come back to that got caught from the list is Eddie Robinson, and we'll come back to that in a second as to why.
Yep, I know where you're going with that.
So we're going to start with Bud Adams, founder of the Houston Oilers, won the first 2 AFL championships. Who was the quarterback on that team?
Who was the quarterback on the team? I believe George Blanda.
United States Athletics Hall of Fame nominee George Blanda, that is. See how I do this?
Yeah.
So big part of forming the AFL, impactor in the merger of the NFL, also the person who moved the Oilers to Tennessee. So that's got to be part of it when we're looking at it, because we'll come up again with another owner here. But certainly, if you had to come up with a name for me of the top 3 owners not in the Hall of Fame, Adams is one of those 3. So agreed. I have absolutely no issue with Bud Adams being here. I don't think he'll get in, but I have no problem with Bud Adams being here.
Yep.
Another one of those owners, who I'm a little surprised isn't in, we all thought should have gotten in 2020, is Ralph Hay.
Would have made the most sense.
Only because his thing is weird is he only owned the Canton Bulldogs for 4 years. But he's the guy who basically convinced everyone to form the NFL. So it just would have made sense to put him in as like the founder of the NFL in the 100th anniversary team. They did not do that. So he is still here. I still don't think Hayes getting in. I think he's a long shot looking from this list, but they've already sort of missed their window on him.
Yeah.
I almost feel like he's going to wait till like year 125. We're just going to have him over and over and over again. And then they're like, this is ridiculous. We have another anniversary year. We're going to put him in. Just because of the way the candidates are. But I'm not surprised to see Hay here either.
Mm-hmm.
Someone who we keep voting for on our Hall of Fame redo, Bucko Kilroy,
Mm-hmm.
former player, very good player, not a Hall of Fame player, but a very good one.
Very good one.
Scouted for Philly, Washington, Dallas. Was executive in New England, where was their GM for 4 years and the vice president for another decade. Was unfortunately, in my opinion, with the team at its worst point. It was the 1990-1991 era where the Patriots, owned by Victor Kiam, sort of kind of fell apart. But a very, very influential person in the history of the sport, both on the field and behind the scenes with player personnel in particular. So now I think the favorite everyone expects here, Patriots owner Robert Kraft.
Be a hard one to keep out. I thought he was in already like a year ago. Another one where I got that wrong. 6 Super Bowls defined that organization. Is what is he? 86?
He's 85, I believe. I'll look that up. Okay.
He's still looking.
I'm sorry, he's 83.
83. Okay. Well,
he'll be 84 later this year.
All right, still looking good, still spry, still completely with it, which is fantastic. But again, he's in his early 80s. Bluntly, this is the most successful owner in the last 30 years. And you could make a case all time already.
You can make a case, certainly. The last year has not done him any favors with the hit job on the dynasty on Belichick. Mm-hmm. The fact the team has the least amount of money put on their team. They have the most. You're going to go in next year with 173 million in cap space, Kirk.
Yeah, well, my team's 2-7 and are pretty much salary cap effed for the next few years.
Yeah, we're 2-7 and we have a lot of salary cap. But
yeah, I'll trade spots with you, but sadly, that's not how that works. Kraft, you're right about his legacy, but I was thinking about something else too. You watched the Tom Brady roast, right?
Yeah.
So one of the first things that sort of happens right there is I think it was Jeff Ross.
Jeff Ross, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, Jeff Ross makes a joke on, I forget what it was. Doesn't matter, on Robert Kraft, and that's when Tom Brady said, "No, we're not doing that." Just the deference that people have towards Robert Kraft is incredible. Even in one of we joked a bit about Aaron Hernandez earlier. In one of the documentaries about him, the difference that he had and just how he was sort of crushed when he didn't make eye contact with him during the trial. Mm. Players love Robert Kraft. I think Kraft is still trying to figure out what his overall legacy was and whether he was. And we're all human. We all have egos. Who doesn't? And you have to have an ego if you're going to run that team. Saying that, there's only one other person who I think can knock him out of this that we didn't see coming.
Yeah, that is true. But we'll get to that in a second. But yeah. I also want to give Kraft the credit, unlike almost all of the other owners on here. Kraft is the one who saved his team rather than moved his team.
Yes.
And if you guys don't know, just a quick way on how Kraft saved the team. So the Patriots, when they started, played at Nickerson Field, which is the field for the Northeastern Huskies. They played at Harvard Stadium. They played at Fenway Park. They played all sorts of different places until they needed just a space, and that's why they're out in Foxborough, which, if you've ever been there, is in the middle of nowhere in Massachusetts. And they built the stadium out there for like $7 million in the 70s, right, to get him a place to play. That stadium was awful when I was a kid. The worst stadium I have ever been to in my life was old Foxborough Stadium.
Wow. Okay.
And or it was at one point Schaefer Stadium. There are a few other names over the years, but it was terrible. So what Kraft did was he bought the parking lots to start. So he bought somebody else owned the parking lots. So the team owned the state, or somebody else owned the stadium, and the team rented the stadium. So he bought out the parking lot concessions. Then he bought out the land across the street for the additional parking and some of the shops. Then he bought the stadium. So when the team under James Ortwine was trying to move to St. Louis, he said that he was enforcing the lease on all three of them and was going to sue them because they were the Cronkies were trying to buy the Patriots and move them to St. Louis. And instead, Ortwine, rather than deal with getting the money from Kroenke and ending up in St. Louis, basically did the math on what it would cost him to fight it in court, split the difference between the court fees and the price, and sold the team to Kraft. So Kraft basically trapped the team into not moving, which is pretty brilliant when it comes down to it. But yeah, absolutely, I think he's a top person on this list coming in. Someone else who is a heck of an owner, but again, moved the team, Art Modell, who owned the Browns from 61 to 95. So basically from their right after their best times to right before they moved to another city and won their own won the first Super Bowl in the franchise's history. But if they did that, like I always joke, Cleveland and Canton are not far enough apart that they wouldn't burn Canton down if Modell got it.
You can't do that until the Browns win a Super Bowl, which like your team and my team isn't happening this year.
True, but at least my team also has the number one pick at the moment because we're that bad. So
yeah.
But yeah, so Art Rooney Jr. is the next one. Another great candidate.
Yep.
Worked for the Steelers from 61, currently the vice president. I have no issue if Art Rooney Jr. gets in. I don't think they'll put him in before Kraft just because of there are too many Steelers in the Hall of Fame already rule, but we'll see. I will not going to be upset if Art Rooney's in. No.
Right. I think also, too, with Art Rooney, again, a phenomenal candidate, but realistically, when we're talking about Kraft, that was pretty much a one-man operation. Rooney had a lot of help.
Correct.
Because, again, the Pittsburgh organization, it's one of those organizations. You can hate Pittsburgh, you can hate the Steelers. You can't hate the people who sort of put all that together. 3 head coaches since Chuck Nolan began?
Yeah, Chuck Nolan in the 70s, Power to Tomlin. And Tomlin has never had a losing record with that team, which is incredible.
And doesn't look like he's going to this year. Good on him.
Good on him. Yep, they're spending way too much on their quarterbacks, but that's not his fault. No. Here's another very interesting candidate to me, Seymour Seawolf.
Yeah.
Owner and president of the Elias Sports Bureau, which is the official statistician of the NFL up through like 2 or 3 years ago, I guess. But they are he's a driving force behind honestly stats and all the stats driven stuff we have these days, including everyone's favorite win probability. He's a very interesting candidate, a dark horse candidate here, a very good one. I don't know if they're going to get him in, but he's somebody that's very interesting.
Yeah, I'll agree with you. He's not ground zero for stats, but he's ground zero to make it accessible, and to sort of like use that stats to not just for the fans to sort of to learn more about it, but just for teams, for analytics, for everything. And again, someone who was on the 2020 Centennial ballot.
Correct.
So he's on their radar, and making it to this stage is, because he's really the only one who may or may not have ever set foot on a gridiron. I don't know.
True.
But here's the wrench in all of this that is no one saw coming. The more I think about it, the more I like it. But then at the same time, when I've got Bud Adams here, Robert Kraft here, and Ralph Hay here, 3 people who I've got higher, but in the charge times we're in, Doug Williams, here he is. So a history-making quarterback, because again, kids, if anyone's here watching this under 25, which you're probably not, but if you are,
I mean, that's the sex appeal, though, man. Don't underestimate it.
Well, there was a time when teams did not think that a quarterback could be black. Bluntly,
Or a
because they
black
didn't.
quarterback could be smart enough to handle an offense.
Yeah, I didn't want to be that
I
direct.
mean, but let's be that direct. That's
Yeah,
it's not our opinion; it's the opinion that's being held at the time. So,
yeah, no, you're right. So like that's where it was for a very, very long period of time. And Doug wasn't just the first man to prove that that's bullshit,
mm-hmm.
although there were others who sort of had opportunities, but he was the one who just, he was, it wasn't even necessarily that they wanted to, it was through injury that they had to.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, on the field, was Williams one of the top 100 quarterbacks of all time? No.
Mm-hmm.
He's very important, but he's not even close to that. But what he did after, what he still does, he wanted to make sure that he wasn't just a legacy for what he did on the field, but what he did after. Through the work he did with for other black quarterbacks directly
Yep.
to help them with that. The co-creator of something that is part of the actual Pro Football Hall of Fame, the Black College Football Hall of Fame,
Yep. That is specifically for
the HBCUs.
HBCU, and that's a really cool room in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I spent quite a bit of time in there.
Yeah. So that was, I don't know if it was his brainchild, but he was one of the co-founders, along with someone else we talked about a couple months ago, James Shack Harris. And I think there was another individual. Uh,
But
Also, he did work with the NFL. He was an NFL executive. There's a lot of meat on this bone to sort of
I
look
just, I just think it's a little weird. That's why I said I want to call Eddie Robinson back into this. Like
Yeah.
it's it seems the way this has gone about, because he was a candidate on the senior pool too. The way this is going about, it seems a little Rock and Roll Hall of Fame-ish, right?
You might want to explain that to some people. What
That people are just in multiple categories until we can get them in, and we'll
yeah.
like Chaka Khan is a no, it wasn't Chaka Khan. Who I think of Lucinda Williams.
Mm-hmm.
She was a candidate on the main ballot and then got in as a senior candidate.
Chaka too, no?
Chaka, I don't think was she candidate that year?
Well, no, she wasn't that year, but then we had MC5 get in and they weren't a candidate. But they like I think the best example of that to me personally is Nile Rodgers because they kept nominating Sheik.
Right.
And
No,
then
but Lucinda Williams, the year she got in, was one of the nominees, and then they put her in
right.
as
Well, I
a
think
senior.
there are others they've done that too. I just
And
can't.
that's the first one came to my mind.
Yeah, yeah. But I guess where we're going with this is the powers that be are looking at Doug Williams, thinking, okay, here's somebody who, and to borrow a term that you've sort of said a lot from a friend or coworker of yours, I can't remember, and it was like, can you tell the story of football without Megatron? And maybe you could because Detroit was so crappy for all that time,
Right.
but you can't tell it without Doug Williams. It's impossible. And when you learn more about everything else that he did, holy crap, there's got to be a better way than just sort of like a little placard.
Right. I get it.
And I see what they're thinking, but does it come off as pandering? Does it come off as
I think that
I don't
this year
know.
comes off. I think this year comes off a little bit as pandering. If he's here 2 or 3 years, I don't think people will have a problem with it. I think they'd have a problem with they got in this year. Does that make sense?
It does only because of who we have
Correct.
support. Again, the guy who came up with the whole idea is not in. The most
Yeah,
successful owner, maybe ever.
he's not in. And the guy who came up with the stats that, or the organization that compiled all the stats we use in every single game is not in.
A co-creator of the AFL is not in,
Yeah,
and a key brain behind the Steelers dynasty or
yeah.
legacy that's still here.
And you definitely, it's true though. You definitely can't write the history of the NFL without Doug Williams, particularly the history of media day without Doug Williams.
You say
Those
it all
don't
the time.
remember,
Look it again. Do it again. Do it
yeah, for
again.
those who don't remember, he was once asked at media day before that Super Bowl, "How long have you been a black quarterback?" So
What was his answer?
I don't remember. The question is more the thing. So anyway, last person here, John Wooten, director of pro
Yes.
scouting from Dallas from 75 to 91, working for Philadelphia, Baltimore as well, 2 Super Bowl rings. I don't know if you guys remember, but those Dallas teams in the 70s were pretty good that he was
Pretty good.
pretty good. So again, the only scout here, but an absolutely worthy scout. I don't think he's going to get in, but it's good to see a scout here, and Wooten is a very good representative of scouts. I think eventually he'll get in. It would be nice to see Eddie Kodal here, but I think that Wooten is a good one person. But I honestly think this is the Kraft Invitational with Hay and Adams on the outside, and Seawoff, and maybe Rooney. I think the other ones are, particularly Wooten and Kilroy, are much, much longer shots.
Well, so they're going to be meeting later this month virtually, and we'll put forth a candidate. So we'll probably know that in 2 shows from now. And we can sort of do a deeper dive there. Let's get to the coaches. Do you want to rattle those off?
Yes, I will. As soon as I get this ad to go away. Sorry.
Okay. Well, that's right. I can start.
No, I got right here. I got right here.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. So the people who were eliminated, let's start with them. They went from 12 to 9. So they cut Alex Gibbs, offensive line coach extraordinaire, Rich Pettibon, very good assistant coach, and Jeff Fisher, who is tied for a National Football League record, which is
the most
career losses. Of course, one of the people he is tied with is Bill Belichick. But Belichick has a few more wins than Fisher.
But I think they were all with the Browns.
Oh, interesting. I didn't think of that. Anyway, so semifinalists, Bill Arnsparger, defensive coach with originally Baltimore Colts, then would join Shula in Miami, and basically the person behind the no-name defense. Tom Coughlin, who is 2-time, of course, Super Bowl champion, also head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, bringing them to the AFC Championship game in his second season. I think a incredible candidate, and if I had to vote for one, probably the one I would pick out of these candidates.
I would too, but I think there's someone who is higher up on their pecking order.
It's entirely possible. We'll get to him. Maybe right now, depending what you're thinking.
That's who I'm thinking.
Yeah. So Mike Holmgren won 2 Super Bowls as assistant coach with San Francisco, once as QB coach, once as offensive coordinator. Then got the head coaching job at Green Bay, brought the Packers to the Super Bowl, although I would give Desmond Howard more credit for that. Also took over the Seahawks as coach and GM and brought them to the worst officiated Super Bowl of all time, Super Bowl XL, but a member of both the Seattle Seahawks Ring of Honor and Packers Hall of Fame.
I'm thinking of that Norm Macdonald, Desmond Howard bit from when he hosted the ESPYs and then wasn't invited back. Desmond Howard won the Heisman. Can't take that away from you unless you kill your ex-wife and her boyfriend. I think they went right to Ken Griffey, who's like that, and then I think he said like after he wasn't invited to the party.
I'm not surprised.
But moving on.
Chuck Knox.
Yeah,
offensive line. Sorry, I put an ice cube math. I shouldn't have done that. Offensive line coach for the Jets and Lions. Head coach for the Rams in '73, where he won Coach of the Year as a rookie, and coach Buffalo. And what I think of the most was Seattle, where Coach of the Year in both of those places. So it's a 3-time Coach of the Year at the Rams.
With all 3? Rams,
Bills, and
yeah.
Then went back to Rams for 3 years, 186 career wins. A very good candidate. I'd probably have him last on this list to me.
Yeah. Like he was so good. When you look at some of the players he had, like overall, it's not like he didn't have any big superstars in Buffalo.
True.
With the Rams, they were aging out. Seattle, I like Dave Craig, and he had Steve Largent, but Dave Craig wasn't. He wasn't going to do that. What was their best running back?
And the other Kurt Warner.
I was going to say, the other Kurt Warner.
Tecmo Bowl Kurt Warner.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I mean, a very good candidate, but I put him.
It'll be hard. Very, very hard.
Dan Reeves. I won an assistant in Dallas. Hired Denver as their head coach in '81. Brought him to 3 AFC titles, but couldn't get to the Super Bowl. Went to the Giants, who was the coach of the year. Took over Atlanta. Brought them the Super Bowl, and then Eugene Robinson happened. and they lost John Elway and the Broncos. He won his second coach of the year, 190 career wins. Remember the Broncos Ring of Honor. So four more
Yeah.
wins than Knox, and then 20 more wins than Coughlin, and 29 more wins in Holmgren. So
Yeah, and I know Denver got blown out in both those games, but that was in that weird 10-year period where whoever represented the AFC, you might as well put doomed on their forehead.
they showed up in their Washington Generals jerseys.
Well said, but yeah.
So you bet against the Harlem Globetrotters? I thought the
I
Generals
thought they were due.
um, Marty Schottenheimer, of course, coach with the Giants and Lions as linebacker coach, defensive coordinator in Cleveland. Brought the Cleveland the AFC Finals twice, and then left for Kansas City to get the AFC Championship game again in '93 with quarterback Joe Montana. Then took time off, went to Washington, was fired after 1 year in one of the dumbest decisions that Dan Snyder ever made, and that is saying something. Went to because that team was Schottenheimer. That team they did play pretty well, and he decided he wanted to go in a different direction. I went to Chargers for a year, took them to the playoff twice. Actually, has the most wins of any quarterback who's eligible, of any coach who's eligible and not in the Hall of Fame, with 200 wins. So 200 wins, 126 losses, and a tie. Remember
Yeah, like one fumble away from a Super Bowl appearance.
Yeah, to Dan Reeves, right?
Yeah, where he would have got blown out.
Or he would have gotten blown out, but maybe that would have helped him. I don't know. I like Schottenheimer more than Knox, and more than Arnsparger, but I don't think he's going to have a shot here. George Seifert, defensive back coach of the Niners, and then defensive coordinator in '83, won 3 Super Bowls as assistant. In '89, was promoted to head coach after Bill Walsh retired. Led the Niners to 2 more Super Bowl wins and 5 NFC championship games, and then spent 3 years in Carolina, where he led them to the NFC championship game in his second year. A career record of 114 and 62, by far the fewest wins of any of the coaches here.
But the most rings.
Most rings, fewest wins.
Yeah.
Most overall wins.
Sell for me in a way. It's like I feel like he benefited a lot from what Bill Walsh built.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm willing to sort of have a conversation on that. Saying that, I feel stronger about 2 other people that we've already discussed.
Yeah, and a third one I'm about to discuss right here, I feel stronger about too.
Yes.
Mike Shanahan, wide receiver coach with the Broncos in '84, then became their offensive coordinator, who is hired by Al Davis to replace Hall of Famer Tom Flores back in Denver. But then ended up in San Francisco, where he won the Super Bowl 29 as their offensive coordinator, which Seifert was the coach of. Returned to Denver again in '95. Then they was there for 14 years, where they won 2 Super Bowls, including beating Dan Reeves in that second Super Bowl. Finished his career 3 years at Washington, overall of 170 and 138, member of the Broncos Ring of Fame. I think a very, very good candidate. I still put Coughlin above him, but I have him in Holmgren not that far apart.
I think in terms of their pecking order, I think they got Holmgren at the top. Is what I think.
I understand, but I think Coughlin is the best candidate.
But here's a very interesting one who could surprise everyone.
Yeah, so this is the one, if they still had the old rule that they had that got Don Coryell in. Clark Shaughnessy, Buddy Parker was the one last year, didn't make it in. Clark Shaughnessy is the next one I would have put here. One of the great first assistant coaches in NFL history, successful college coach, 150 wins in college, became the Redskins advisor in '44. There was the Rams coordinator for 2 years, and the Chicago's defensive coordinator from '51 to '62. Anything you want to say about Shaughnessy?
Obviously, one of the greatest minds of his day in football. There's a place for him in any football Hall of Fame, period. But the rule sort of that they have, he's one of those guys. I'm going to borrow a Vinny Lospinuso term. The sum of his part, of all his parts, it's like Bucko Kilroy is a great candidate for everything that he's sort of done, but it's sort of very, very difficult. But Shaughnessy, yeah, if he wanted to be a head coach, he probably easily could have. But it's like, no, I'm more than happy to sort of like lend my expertise without that role. Shaughnessy, if he got in, because like none of these guys are to me Robert Kraft level. Like you can't ignore this man.
Right.
Whereas with Shaughnessy, you've known about him for a long time. It's not like the people are going to rebel. Well, like you're making Holmgren wait another year.
Mm.
Look at what this man has done.
I agree, but except for one thing, their last two coaches have been dead, who they've nominated.
Right, but is Holmgren like what age is he?
I mean, have you ever thought a Holmgren was a physical specimen at any point in your life?
Here's the one thing that I know following sports as long as I have. Fit people die around the same time as trapezoids like me.
That's true. Holmgren is 76,
Mm,
Shanahan's 72, Coughlin is 78. Schottenheimer is no longer with us. He would be
yeah,
81. Dan Reeves is, or Dan Reeves passed away, but Dan Reeves would be 70.
yeah.
No, he'd be 80 this year. Seifert is 84.
And we
Seymour Seawoff would be 120, 104, but he died in 2019. So
we know that with Mongo, they've got a heart.
mm-hmm.
I don't know.
So does that mean Seifert because he's the oldest?
No, none of them are sort of like that we're aware of sick. Although we've seen them in
Right.
the past, though, where they waited anyway.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, Belichick is 72, in case you're wondering. So anyway. All right. So I mean, I think it's gonna be Kraft and then one of those three, Holmgren, Coughlin, or Shanahan. I would go Coughlin. Who would you go? I think you think they're gonna go Holmgren. It would shock
I
me
think
when
they're going to go Holmgren, but I would not be surprised if Shaughnessy squeaks in somehow. It would not
who
shock
would you vote for out of these folks? You gotta pick one.
me, honestly.
Chauncey?
I
Okay.
think it's long overdue.
Understood.
Yeah,
Okay. I still think I go Coughlin this year, and then you can take a look next year. I think
I wouldn't have a problem with I wouldn't have a problem with that either. I mean, Coughlin's sort of my three. There's I all of these candidates are so good. I mean, our worst, the one we've got sort of last, is either Chuck Knox or Bill Arnsberger, and they're both incredible.
yeah, Chuck Knox. I'm kind of poo-pooing Chuck Knox. He won 186 games as a coach.
Yeah.
So, in the history of football, there are only 7 coaches who have 200 wins.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Marty Schottenheimer is one of them, and he's somebody we don't think has that great of a shot. So,
Yeah.
anyway, all right. Do you have anything to say on the up and down here?
I just did something with Chris that sort of went up. So there's not really anything that sort of sticks around or sticks in mind recently in terms of the elevator up, elevator down. Uh, I guess really the elevator, we've sort of seen that happen in baseball, obviously. If you are a non-Negro League candidate before 1950, because you couldn't really be
Mhm.
Negro League candidate after, that door looks to be probably closed. So
Mhm.
for Bill Dolan, it looks over.
McCormick.
McCormick, it seems over. There's so many other players that we could sort of look at. I don't see how they're going to come back with one of these people in a later,
Unless,
unless they
unless
change.
they're cleaning out the last 2 of the Negro Leaguers, and then at that point,
But then, the,
I'm just thinking of the way it could happen. That's what I'm saying. So let's just
yeah,
say Vic Harris gets in this year, then we might see I think his name Paul, the other guy. I closed it.
Donaldson.
Donaldson. Sorry, Josh Donaldson.
Yeah,
We might see Donaldson and then Dolan again. You know what I mean?
we
But
we we, we could. It'll be pretty hard for that to sort of happen. I guess just in a few other things to sort of look at. I mentioned this on the show I did with Chris. I want to bring that up here again. Congrats to Evgeny Malkin, 500 goals over his career. Most people aren't even noticing. I don't know how you get 500 goals, win 2 cups, and a Hart Trophy, and you're this anonymous. but I guess because you're playing with Sidney Crosby.
It's the orbit of Crosby is what that is.
It is. I'm so happy hockey's back. I got to go to a Kraken game, which was so much fun. That arena, I cannot wait to take you there, Evan.
Okay.
I was excited with the idea of taking you to something in Winnipeg. This is going to be far more fun.
Cool. It's a cracking good time.
Oh, yes, yes. So just want to sort of shout out that I'm very, very happy.
So here's a question: if you're the candy bar brand, and this was something that Bill Simmons was talking about on his podcast today, if you're the
Mhm.
candy bar brand Crackle, why have you not tried to do something with the Kraken at this point?
I don't know.
You 100% should, don't you think?
They've,
That's one letter difference.
I suppose, Crackle the Kraken. I will say one shitty thing about going to a Kraken game. They've got the ugliest ass mascot. Period.
Oh, really? I don't think I. Hold on, let me take a look.
It's Bluey.
Kraken.
He's a troll. And I was saying that, and other people said, "Hey, don't you
Oh,
disrespect Bluey." All right, sorry.
yeah, he's.
I don't know what like it's weird. It's a very strange creation. I said to my wife, maybe we'll get a little doll for our dogs to play. We're like, no, that's gonna haunt my dreams.
It says Bowie is a Seattle sea troll who inhabits a caverns of Climate Pledge Arena, and for who nothing beats a day filled with Kraken hockey and the team's fans. Bowie's favorite meal is shark mixed with duck and sprinkled with light maple leaf seasoning.
Okay, I didn't even know any of that. I would have thought in Seattle it might have been tofu,
Yeah, but shark mixed with duck and light maple leaf seasoning.
but it's an amazing arena. I will say that you actually go downstairs, which is interesting in itself. Uh, I do find it a goofy name, Climate Pledge. I think you maybe could come up
It
with
is
something.
a very like an arena that's constantly keeping ice cold in order to. I'm sure that's good for the
Well,
climate.
they've got the whole story behind it, what they're trying to
I
do.
know, I know, I know, I
But
know. This is
it was the second time I went to there for first time for hockey. I had a great time, and I highly recommend if you're in Seattle and you're thinking, I don't know, maybe just go to a game. It's a lot of fun, and they do a great job keeping the fans entertained.
so. I'm looking at worst mascots, and apparently the study finds that the Columbus Blue Jackets mascot Stinger is the worst in pro sports.
I'm surprised that the one for the Jets isn't up there. I don't know what that's supposed to be. It's Benny
Stinger,
the Jet, but he doesn't look like a jet. He just looks like a blue Yuppie.
Stinger is pretty terrible for the Blue Jackets. Like he's real bad. And sorry, Winnipeg Jets mascot,
Benny the Jet.
not Mickey Moose.
Mickey Moose is awesome, but that's what they have for the Manitoba Moose.
Interesting. They have him listed as the since both he's served as a mascot for the Jets and the Manitoba Moose. Benny Jet. There we go.
Ah, okay. Well, maybe
Oh,
Mickey Jet.
I see Benny here.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Is he a toilet brush?
Yeah, he looks like a Johnny Brush. Something you clean off residue ass.
He's
That's
the
what you're.
secondary mascot now behind Mickey Moose.
Well, that's good. I didn't know that.
So
That's good to know. Mickey Moose is great. I love Mickey Moose.
hmm. Anyway, all
Yeah.
right, cool.
But no, I mean that's pretty much it. I think we'll have a lot more once the baseball awards come out.
Yeah.
Another thing. Congrats to the Los Angeles Dodgers. I know it's a couple of
Mhm.
weeks sort of removed. Freddie Freeman is someone I had as my big elevator up, and
Yeah.
obviously I think you can put his numbers right now next to some comparable players like Todd Helton and Joey Votto, who just retired, and he's right up there. But Freeman's got that 6 games in a row in a World Series home run streak.
That's
That's
pretty good.
that's yeah.
Pretty good. Yeah. So Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, of course. It's Shohei Ohtani probably made it in anyway, but having a championship certainly makes it even easier.
Absolutely. I got to do a deeper dive on Giancarlo Stanton winning that ALCS MVP. If the Yankees would have won the World Series, that would sort of take a lot of pressure off that shitty contract that they're giving
Yeah.
a very one-dimensional player at this point. But if you're going to be that one dimension, you better make it count. And he did until like the Dodgers were just too good.
Yeah, well, I mean, what was it? Joe Kelly said that the Yankees were actually probably eighth or ninth best team in the playoffs, so they were all very excited when they got there. So anyway, Joe Kelly also likes making trouble wherever he goes. Um, three-time World Series champion now, Joe Kelly. One with the Red
Yeah,
Sox against the Dodgers, and two with the Dodgers.
I guess actually just off the top of my head right now, though, that I've been thinking about it because I meant to mention it on the last show, just more of a wrestling thing. Samantha Irvin, who I praised as just this incredible ring announcer for the WWE, abruptly quit to
Interesting.
pursue other things. Uh, Maybe she shouldn't pursue it on social media because she's acting a bit silly right now, but that's neither here nor there. They brought back somebody just in a pinch because it happened so quickly. And just to put it for those who are not aware who Samantha Irvin is, one of her biggest supporters is Michael Buffer. Enough said.
Got it.
That's all I need to sort of say in terms of that. But Lillian Garcia came back just to sort of like help out in a pinch. Lillian Garcia was their ring announcer for many, many years, did a phenomenal job. I can't say she did last Monday, where she said, "This is a number one containers match."
Mm. It's the words happen. Believe me,
Yeah.
it's live. You make mistakes every once in a
But,
while.
for her to be able to come back, they only have one ring announcer in and Howard Finkel, who might be the GOAT. I think that Samantha was going to be. So you could argue that maybe that's an elevator down because she's now left the company. I don't know what terms they are, but I think she wants to. I didn't know this. I've just learned this. She was a semifinalist in America's Got Talent.
Oh,
So
wow.
I think she wants to pursue that singing career. She wasn't getting the support she wanted to do outside projects.
So she left.
So she left, which is her right to do so. Uh, she could have been the GOAT if she wanted to be. But Lillian came back in a pinch. Someone who Google what she looks like if you can, Evan.
Who
Lillian
is this?
Garcia,
Lillian Garcia.
and just do Lillian Garcia 2024.
Okay.
Yeah. When you
She's a very attractive 58-year-old woman.
that's what where I was going with that.
Born in the Panama Canal Zone.
Oh, I didn't know that. But yeah, just no one has. She looked the same 30 years ago. She's
Crazy.
not. It's not that she's aging in reverse. Whatever she's drinking, I want some because there's no logical reason for her to look like that without a filter at
Mhm.
56. So 58, I thought she was 56. Either way, I think there like maybe there's a lifetime achievement award for her in one of those other categories. I'd like to see her get that. I don't think I'm alone in that.
I just have a side by side now of 1999 versus 2024, and she looks almost exactly the same.
Right?
Yeah, 25 years later, she looks exactly the same.
It,
Crazy.
it's I don't know who else can even say that.
Yeah.
Not even Paul Rudd can say that.
No, but it's close.
It's
So
close. It's close. Oh my God, if Paul Rudd and Lillian Garcia had a kid,
the kids.
when that kid is like 100 years old, like George Burns, what will it look like?
That kid's 100 years old. Somehow, our 10th president, John Tyler, will still have a grandchild alive. So,
It was something I thought off the top of my head, and that whole thing just didn't come through. Just let's just go to the dead people.
got it.
Sorry,
That's all right. All right. So we don't have very many this week, which is
good.
which is good. I'll start outside of our things here. Alan Ratchins passed away. Probably best known as Doug Brackman on L.A. Law, where he got both the Golden Globe and Emmys, and Larry, Dharma's dad from Dharma and Greg, the hippie guy.
Oh, okay. I know that. Yeah.
So he passed away at the age of 82.
Mm-hmm.
I just one of those people. I was like, oh, I remember that guy.
Yeah, I do now. Yeah.
Also passing away, David Harris, who I would best remember as Cochise from Warriors, the Warriors movie in '79.
Oh man, I haven't
The,
seen
the
that.
real the real young African American kid.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So
Um, yeah, so he was in that. He was also in Brubaker, Purple's Hearts, The Soldier's Story, a bunch of other stuff, but he passed away at the age of 75. Uh, Terry Garr,
Mhm.
who I always think of most from, well, I guess both Tootsie, but Young Frankenstein more than
Mhm.
anything. Um, Passed away at the age of 79. Um, she won a National Board of Review Best Acting Ensemble Award in 1994 for Pret-a-Porter, but also was in Close Encounters of the Third Kind,
Her
and a
mom,
bunch. Go ahead.
Mr. Mom.
And Mr. Mom, that's correct. Yep. Um, but yeah, she was pretty much everyone from Young Frankenstein's gone except the director at this point, Mel Brooks, because Peter Boyle's gone, Gene Wilder's gone.
Huh.
Yeah. So anyway, but she passed away at the age of 79. Um, Also passing away at the age of 95, Kirsten Margareta Hawkinson, who, believe it or not, was the first ever winner of Miss World Beauty Pageant back in 1951. So it was she won, and they were supposed to be they during the crowning ceremony. She was still in her bikini from the swimsuit thing, and it was condemned by the Pope as a sign of the immorality of society. Uh, and it made it so bad that several countries withdrew or threatened to withdraw their candidates from the thing because of the bikinis. They went in the bikini for many years, only to come back to it. But she's still apparently the only Miss World competitor ever to receive her crown while still wearing her bikini.
So that's
She
why we
passed,
never had a Miss Iraq.
I suppose, but she passed away at the age of 95. I thought it was interesting that she was still alive because the first Miss World pageant was 1951. So that was a while ago.
I never even heard of that. I thought there was a
Uh,
Miss Universe, but I don't know.
I I don't know. I don't know any of these things, but I was just weird that the first one of anything was still around. So
There you go.
from the world of boxing, heavyweight Alonzo Butler passed away at the age of 44.
Mm.
Uh, he his last fight was in 2020 August of 2021. He beat Brandon Spencer in unanimous decision. Career 40 fights, 34 wins with 25 knockouts, 3 losses, all decisions, 2 draws, and 1 no contest. Fought for many, many years, had 1 shot at the heavyweight title for the WBA, NABA, USA heavyweight title and lost to Travis Walker back in 2011. No reason why he passed away, but he was only 44.
Mm.
Um, from the world of music, no, let's do football first. From the world of football, 8-time CFL All Star Charlie Turner played with the Hamilton Tiger Cats, Edmonton Eskimos, and Winnipeg Blue Bombers of the Canadian Football League. 3-time Grey Cup champion, CFL's most outstanding offensive lineman in 75, and the DeMarco Beckett Memorial Trophy in 75, presuming also has something to do with offensive linemen. I did not look it up. He passed away at the age of 79. Also passing away, Dub Jones passed
Mm.
away at the age of 99. 4-time NFL champion, 50, 54, 55, and 64 with the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
Also, as a coach, he was a coach at Cleveland Browns 64. 2-time AAFC champion with the Browns. First team All Pro in 51, 2-time Pro Bowler. First team FCC and SEC in 1944. Also, still co-holds the record for most touchdowns in one game in NFL history with 6.
Can't be too many guys who played in the AAFC still left.
You'd imagine. I mean, he was 99, so you got to figure he would have turned 100 on December 29th.
He might be the last. There weren't that many teams in that league.
No. It's a good question how many are left, but yeah,
Yeah.
Dub Jones could very well be the last.
Mhm.
I can look that up when we for next time. So, all right. From the world of oh, sorry, one more. Lonnie Warwick passed away as well, the age of 82. Starting middle linebacker on that Purple People Eaters defense of the Minnesota Vikings. Played them from 65 to 72, then 2 years with the Falcons, and 1 year at the San Antonio Wings to finish off his career. A member of the
Is that World Football?
that is World Football League. They played one season in the WFL.
I gotta find a YouTube clip game of that.
Yeah. But member of the NFL champion, the 69 Vikings, who lost the Super Bowl but did get the NFL championship back when they still called it that.
Mhm.
He passed away at the age of 82. So,
Well,
also,
nice for a change to see football players living a long life here.
mhm, yep. Then from the world of hockey, uh, uh, hockey Hall of Famer in the builder category from 2015, Bill Hay,
Oh, hey,
who was CEO of the Calgary Flames. Also got the Order of Hockey in Canada back in 2021. Made his career, plays pro career of the Calgary Stampeders, Western Hockey League. Then played with the Chicago Blackhawks. Scored 55 points and won the Calder
mhm.
his first year. Got the 60 NHL All-Star game, and then ended up as line mates with Bobby Hull and Murray Belford to help them win their first Stanley Cup since 37-38.
Yeah.
Played them all the way until his retirement in 67.
Another interesting thing about him too, when I did his when I was researching him because I did a little bio for the site, and I didn't know this. He was one of the first players to really do very well in NCAA because he played at the University of Colorado,
Mm.
and
Oh,
so
no, Colorado College.
Colorado College, sorry,
Yeah.
Colorado College, and then but either way, he was there for a few years, and then he went from the NCAA to pro hockey, which that didn't happen back then.
Particularly for Canadian guys.
Absolutely. I couldn't find out why he did that.
I know it said he started with the Saskatchewan Huskies, Western
Yeah.
Canadian Intercollegiate Athletic Association, and then moved to the
It,
Colorado College Tigers.
it
So,
seems weird that a prairie kid, from mid Canada sort of winds up in Colorado. I don't know how that happens in the 50s, but
yeah.
it did. Yeah, also I think the first father-son combination into the Hockey Hall of Fame because his dad was a builder, got inducted as a builder too.
Well, I mean, it can't be the first because Bobby and Brett Hull. Brett Hull was in before 2000 and oh, maybe not
I don't
2015.
know.
No, probably not. Hull's probably after that.
I'm
I don't
not.
know.
Well, maybe the only two as builders.
That would make sense. Only two as builders would make sense.
Yeah. I don't
But
know.
yeah.
Still look that up.
So anyway, Bill Hay was 88. Also the former chairman of the Hockey Hall of Fame. Bill
Right.
Hay. So then we lost two people for music. One, Tyka Nelson. Who is Tyka Nelson related to, do you think?
Ricky Nelson?
Prince. It's
Oh,
Prince's sister, Tyka. Passed away at the age of 64. Only full sibling of that Prince had. There are 7 half siblings, but the only one had. She released 4 albums, including one that reached number 33 in Billboard's Hot R&B Hip Hop Songs, with a song called Mark Anthony's Tune, produced by Larry Graham. She called it Mark Anthony's Tune because she had a huge crush on the singer at the time, Mark Anthony at the time. Yeah, she's the one who accepted Prince's American Music Award for top soundtrack after he died in 2016.
okay.
So it said that she had been ill since June of 2024 and died at North Memorial Hospital in Robbinsdale, Minnesota. I don't know what happened to her. So,
Okay.
but yeah, she was 64. Those siblings, like, um, so her half brother, Lorna Nelson, died in 06. Dwayne died in 2013. Alfred died in 2019. John died in 2021. Prince died in 2016. Some of these guys have made it particularly that far, which is kind of crazy.
Huh.
And then the biggest new name by far, that we lost this week. Maybe the biggest name of the year, honestly, that we lost. Quincy Jones passed away at the age of 91.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at his Wikipedia page, it says under genres: rhythm and blues, soul, funk, big band, swing, bossa nova, jazz, hip hop, rock and roll, and disco. So it should just basically say music.
Yeah.
What, you didn't do Gregorian chant? What the hell's wrong with you, dude? Um, uh,
Iconic producer, the mastermind behind We Are the World.
mm-hmm. I did the film scores for films including In the Heat of the Night, In
Mhm.
Cold Blood, The Wiz, The Color Purple.
Sanford and Son theme.
What?
He did the
Oh,
Sanford and Son theme.
Sanford and Son theme. Yep.
Yep.
Um, yeah, Kennedy Center honor back in 2001. But just, I mean, just like he's got to have one of the longest Wikipedia pages you could possibly ever imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Father, of course, of Rashida Jones.
Yep.
But the list, like, I'm looking at the list of his awards and honors, and it's like a member of the Honorary Academy Award this last spring from the Academy of Motion Pictures, so the Academy of the Oscars, right? Black Music Entertainment Walk of Fame, Royal Academy of Music, Government of France, Santos Press Club, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Time Magazine's 10 Most Influential 80-Year-Olds, National Melody Arts, BET Awards. They named a elementary school in South Central Los Angeles named after him. Garfield High School, Kennedy Center Performing Arts. The government of France gave him another award. They had basically the two highest awards you get for France with not being from France. Mm-hmm. The Humanitarian Award from the Academy, Grammy Legend Award, American Academy Achievement Award presented by Ray Charles. Got a honorary doctorate of music from Berklee College of Music in Boston. Like, worked with Michael Jackson. He worked with Lenny Kravitz, Lionel Richie, Clive Davis, Will Smith, Steven Spielberg. Like, just so many people. Few people have had as big an impact on the development of culture in the world as Quincy Jones over the last 50 to 70.
His branches are everywhere. It's going to be one of those names. I think when you're rattling off everything, everyone knows that name, but I don't think everyone knows everything that he did. I'll put myself included in that. I'm sure there's piles of music that he was part of or helped produce that I'm not even aware of, or scores. Like I'm not my knowledge of music is pretty solid. Although I admitted earlier to you before, like I'm starting to shake with a lot of the newer stuff.
Right.
I just don't have the time. I wish I did, but I don't.
I said the words the other day. What's Chapel Roan to my kids? I said, no. What's Chappelle Roan? And they're like, Chapel, Dad. I'm like, oh, okay.
Are you sure it's not Chappelle Roan? And
it's double P's and double L's. That's why I did it that way. But no.
So. Yeah, I just learned who that was through a Bill Maher bit. So
I learned who that was through Postmodern Jukebox covering one of her songs. So
yeah, but anywho, I mean that's why you have kids. I got nothing. I look at my dog. Huh?
Does the dog like Chapel Roan?
Well, I probably get the same answer every time, which is yeah. Just somebody who is going back to Quincy. Just everything that he touched became important. I kind of liked old cranky Quincy at the end.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, well, it's like Beatles weren't shit.
Yeah. So just going back through here, you ready? Herb Alpert, Louis Armstrong, Patty Austin, the Count Basie Orchestra, Tony Bennett, George Benson, Brooke Benton, the Ray Brown Orchestra, Diane Carroll, Ray Charles, Sammy Davis Jr., still going, Ella Fitzgerald with Count Basie, Aretha Franklin, Dizzy Gillespie, Leslie Gore, Donny Hathaway, Lena Horne, James Ingram, Michael Jackson, Peggy Lee, Little Richard, who else? Billy Preston, Rufus featuring Chaka Khan, Frank Sinatra, Donna Summer, Sarah Vaughan, Dinah Washington. Like those are all people whose stuff he just produced. That's albums he produced for people.
Yeah, including one of the biggest of all time, Thriller.
And Thriller. Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, just he did Off the Wall, Thriller, and Bad, as well as E.T. the Extraterrestrial for with Michael Jackson.
Oh,
But yeah,
okay.
all of those people, just amazing, an amazing career, amazing man. And he gave us Rashida Jones, who's one of my favorite people on the planet. So that also helps. So
I didn't know that.
I love Rashida Jones. She's great. So anyway, yep, that's everybody I got.
Do you want to close off with? I know we're doing this a lot quicker than we normally do. Usually we record this at night. We're doing this in the middle of the day, just because
You would be able to tell because you wouldn't be able to tell because the sun goes down here so fast now.
Well, yeah. Saying that, do you have any good, bad, and ugly, or anything that you want to sort of like get off your chest in the sports world?
Not in particular, I don't think this week. I've been focused more on getting these videos out.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got 48 out. The next ones I'll be recording, like I said, tonight, Wilma Rudolph and Eddie Arcaro.
Yeah.
And then we'll shortly have Don Hudson, Oscar Robertson, Debbie Meyer, and Jeff Gordon up here, Mean Joe Green. And we're going from there. I'm not sure I'm going to get all of them by the time we're done for December 1st.
Even if you don't, there's
I'll get all the new people.
They'll stay there for. And it's a great 4-minute synopsis because a lot of these people are names that that a lot of us know very, very well, and sometimes they're not, especially when we're going back before Evan and I were born, and we're old as shit, me especially.
Yeah, but I mean, and some of them, there's like the stories you get from these people, like just like I'm finishing up Jeff Gordon's writing tonight. And Gordon has to be the only person whose family willingly moved from California to Indiana in order to improve their career.
Oh, okay.
But like some of these stories, like, do you know, like the high school that Frank Robinson went to?
Mm-hmm.
He played basketball and baseball. His baseball team had Kurt Flood and Vada Pinson on it. A high school baseball team with Frank Robinson, Kurt Flood, and Vada Pinson on the same team.
Wouldn't they all be outfielders too?
Yeah, probably.
That's your outfield.
That's your outfield. On the basketball team, he was teammates with Bill Russell. What high school is this? McClymonds High School in West Oakland, California, had those 4 athletes in it in a 6-year span. Because Russell is older than Robinson, but also crazy. Russell and Robinson were high school teammates. Mm-hmm. Russell's the first African American coach in NBA history. Robinson's the first African American coach in baseball history. Both were player coaches at the time. It's weird, like all these things when you look at it, like Debbie Meyer, who I wrote the other day, swimmer. If you guys don't remember Debbie Meyer, she was only a competitive swimmer for 4 years. Her family randomly moved. She randomly moved to a place where she could swim, and the swimming coach there took her in. She never had a swim lesson. Like, yeah, just come in on and join us. And she's the fastest person in the pool. That included Mark Spitz, also happened to just be at that pool that she was at. She was the fastest swimmer, faster than Spitz at the time. Like,
yeah, she'd be, because she was a superstar in the '68 Olympics, Spitz in '72.
Right.
Yeah, and both of those people too. Like we talk about research of that. I know we're sort of like meandering on a bit, but the swimmers are really interesting because, like, yeah, she was only competing for 4 years because you have to then cash in at that point in time. You couldn't maintain the amateur. I'm putting this for those just listening in air quotes, and then compete. So like Spitz especially, like he stopped at the '72 Olympics when he was the American star of those Olympic Games because, well, okay, you got to make a buck, but then so he would do all those endorsements, but then he couldn't go back to compete because that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, another one going back to swimmers, I did Tracy Calkins.
Mm-hmm.
Tracy Calkins, if the U.S. does not boycott the 1980 Olympics, Tracy Calkins would have had in my opinion, the most gold medals of any female athlete ever.
Mm-hmm.
She was insane. At one point she raced for just a few years, but she She retired at the age of 21, having set 5 world records, 63 American records, and 48 national titles, according to including 3 Olympic golds. She retired at 21. Debbie Meyer, who we just talked about, who only competed for 4 years, held held the world record. I'm sorry, Calkins held the world record in 5 strokes at the same time.
If I remember right, too, with Meyer, she was still a teenager before she stopped competing.
Correct. She was 19 when she finished.
Yeah. Again, because of the stupid rules that existed.
Because of stupid rules and stuff. But it's just, all these stories are like crazy, like how these people ended up where they ended up and things along those lines. Andre Agassi, who I just did, his father was a boxer for Iran in the 48 and 52 Olympics and moved to Chicago and took up tennis. Moved to Chicago and then thought that was too cold, so moved to Vegas. And his son was the youngest. Andre was the youngest of 4. And as soon as he could walk, he just handed him a tennis racket. And by the time he was 4, he worked at a casino and he got to know people at the casino, including Jimmy Connors. So 4-year-old Andre Agassi was just hitting balls with Jimmy Connors all the time. Like, it's just all these random connections between people is kind of amazing.
Well, at least within Calkins, like they boycotted the 1980 Olympics, protesting Afghanistan, and it all worked out because Afghanistan is a thriving place now.
And I mean, Russia wouldn't dare invade anymore. So neither would. So anyway, all right, but we're on tangents though. But I mean, this is my favorite part of this whole thing. Honestly, it's like last time I just did quick synopsis. Part of the reason it's taking me so long is this time I'm doing really deep dives into all these people.
And that's on the YouTube channel Secondhand Burrito.
That's Secondhand Burrito, and if you can get them from there. So I got a lot still to do.
Second with a 2.
Second with a 2, yeah. So just in case we don't get there, if I run out of time, I'll make sure I'll get all the remaining first year people up, and we'll get the other ones back later. But we still have cut to come for first year eligibles: Mia Hamm, Lisa Leslie, Ken Griffey Jr., Pete Sampras, Yogi Berra, Bob Cousy, George Foreman, Christy Mathewson, Joe Frazier, Elgin Baylor, John Elway, Jeff Gordon, who's going to be next one up from them, Cheryl Swoops, and Wyoming Attias are all still coming up. I think after Gordon, I think the next one up is Frazier for the newbies. So
awesome. Well, with that, this brings the show to a close. Check out www.theusahof.com. Make your voices heard on coaches, contributors, and players. We'll be announcing that next month who got in, and it's all up to all of you.
Yep, 100%.
So wherever you are, wherever you may be, make today count because it never comes again. Take care, everybody.
Take care, guys.